everyone, it's Speaker Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk more about Fantastic Four First Steps and take a look at its box office within its second weekend of release, covering the period Friday the 1st of August to Monday the 4th of August 2025. Now there might be spoilers here for both this movie and all other films and TV series within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so just beware when going to this other video, and you can check out both my non-spoiler and spoiler reviews of the film, and I'll leave some links within the description. So we'll get straight into the numbers then, and within US cinemas, the movie managed to retain the #1 spot with an estimated $40 million gross, which represented a 66% drop from last weekend's $122 million take. Internationally, around 80 to 90 million was added to give the movie a total global tally of $368 million. So what do these numbers mean then for the film? Well, to be honest, within the US, that 66% drop is not good, and I expected a lesser drop given the general reviews and good word of mouth, which has overall been very positive. Definitely far better received than both Captain America Brave New World and also Thunderbolts. And with James Gunn's Superman winding down now, and no major release competing this weekend afterwards, I really thought the film would see a drop much more of around 55 to 60%. And that is generally the ballpark that you'd want to experience for a big blockbuster like this in its second weekend. If you can hit around 50 to 55%, that really does bode well for you going forward, and you could be looking at a gross from anywhere from $400 to $500 million within the US territory. But as you've seen with many box office event films, particularly superhero ones, that go on to experience this level of drop in its second weekend, they do tend to become either massive failures or underperformers. Now, this wasn't quite as bad as, let's say, the Marvels, for example, but you're still looking at similar drops for the likes of Eternals and Quantumania, and also Captain America Brave New World. Now, it's going to pass the previous Marvel movies this year domestically, and it's looking likely that we'll see a gross of around $250 to $300 million. Now, you could say that is far from a disaster. It's not like Fantastic Four is going to be one of the biggest flops of the year at all. But at the same time, because this is superhero movies, a Marvel movie, the standard and scrutiny are a lot higher and a lot harsher. And whether you like it or not, it is looking like Fantastic Four First Steps could be the third consecutive underperformer of the year for Marvel. Now, this is going to fuel the ongoing debate online about the state of the MCU, both creatively and commercially, in terms of its decline post Avengers Endgame. And yes, the second weekend numbers do support that argument, as does the narrative once more of superhero fatigue, of which we are seeing symptoms of definitely for the last 3 to 4 years. And this performance over the weekend is more confirmation of that. Now, many commentators online have brought up Pedro Pascal and that his presence in the film and all of the promotion with the supposed touchy-feely interviews with co-star Vanessa Kirby have helped contribute towards this decline. Now, whilst many won't agree, I really don't think that Pedro was a big factor in the second weekend drop. Whilst within the online space, he's certainly a controversial figure, in inverted commas, in a general landscape, he's not really that big enough a name to draw attention or indeed deter audiences away. People in general really won't have much knowledge of who Pedro Pascal is. He's not in the same blue chip mainstream movie star status as, let's say, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt or Denzel Washington. And even his most hardened detractors had to admit that he had at least provided an adequate to solid performance within the film itself. So I really don't believe Pedro Pascal was a big enough factor in terms of the second weekend drop. This is once more, again, where we have to distinguish the commentary that goes on online with the one that happens within the outside real world. Another factor could be that whilst the movie had all of the visuals of Galactus in terms of its construction, First Steps didn't quite have the same high-octane action sequences that James Gunn's Superman had. Many people felt that the movie was a bit slow in its second half, that the plot was a bit too simplistic or basic, that there wasn't really enough comic book flair or colour or razzmatazz on screen than what we saw with Superman. And again, all of these are valid arguments as to why the movie isn't hitting the heights commercially that Marvel was certainly hoping for. So we do then ask at this stage, how much will the movie make overall? Well, it currently stands at 368 million, so If it continues this steep decline, we probably could be looking at a range of around $400 to $500 million, which again would prove to be another big disappointment. I think going into the movie's release, Marvel were hoping for anything above 600 million, which whilst wouldn't announce the MCU is back to its former glory days, it certainly would represent an upswing in terms of commercial performance as we head towards both Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Now, I have mentioned multiple times that whilst yes, the MCU is in certain decline, that it's not completely destroyed or finished. For all of the flops that they will experience, certainly throughout this year alone, they can easily pull together a Deadpool and Wolverine, a Spider-Man movie, an Avengers movie, a Thor movie, a Guardians of the Galaxy, and all of these movies are still guaranteed money makers. And in many ways, I think that's why we've recently seen such focus on the next coming Spider-Man installment, Brand New Day, in terms of the recent costume reveal and the on-set photos. I do believe that this was very deliberate by Marvel to try and drive up the hype for the franchise, hoping that people excited by this may indeed go and see Fantastic Four. That would increase the film's viewership, but I don't believe that's the case, as what we saw with the fallout of Far From Home. The Tom Holland Spider-Man, to an extent, has been disconnected, certainly from the association of the Avengers. Now, yes, it has been confirmed that we will be seeing both the looks of The Punisher by Jon Bernthal and Mark Ruffalo returning as the Hulk, which in itself is a very strange combination. Once more, there is a lack of connectivity and consistency that benefited the franchise so well in the past. We would watch one installment and get excited for the next installment that was coming in the future because of all of the various cameos and connections, and it really felt that we were on a path to something truly special, hence phases 1 to 3 of the Infinity Saga. But there was no consistency or connectivity this time around. We've had nowhere near the same amount of build-up or development, and this again affects the hype and momentum that we aren't seeing within the franchise. So whether Fantastic Four doesn't manage to maintain itself in its following weekends, in the mindset of both Marvel and Disney, all they will need is for both of those Avengers movies and Spider-Man Brand New Day to make over $1 billion, which is still very likely at this point. Then that will be enough to convince them that there is still some sense of potency within the franchise. Now, a lot of people agree that the MCU should be very much rebooted at this stage. I think that should have happened way back with Avengers Endgame. But overall, we will see what will happen in the future. But sadly, it seems Fantastic Four First Steps wasn't the huge building blocks to go back to the big success of the MCU that certainly both Marvel and Disney were hoping for. So we will quickly talk about James Gunn's Superman, which recently hit the $550 million mark. And the online debate continues as to whether this will go on to match or indeed surpass Man of Steel. At this point, I still maintain that it won't. Many box office analysts are talking around $640 million. So once more, if it reaches that total or anything less, it will fuel the intense conversation once more, particularly amongst the Snyder fans, that their universe should have indeed continued. And it will be interesting to see next year how the next phases of James Gunn's DC universe in both Clayface and Supergirl perform. That will tell us a bit more as to whether his iteration of his DC movie universe will truly succeed or not. So those are my thoughts and feelings when talking about the second weekend box office numbers for Fantastic Four First Steps. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other further movies, television series, or any other topics for the pop, entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.